let's work on our joints. We want to spiral some energy into those joints so that we feel wonderful. Let's get started. So I'm going to kind of start from the toes and move up. So the first thing we're going to do is just lift the heels. Now if you need to hold on to a chair or the wall or something, or if you want to be seated and just flex, you can do that. Also, if you are going to stand, you don't have to come way up high on your toes. So all I want you to do is just, get your feet nicely planted, and your knees can be slightly bent. Just relax into it, and then lift the heels and down. Lift the heels and down. And when you lift those heels, and of course you're working on those joints in the toes. So just lift and lower and lift and lower. And we'll do a few of these. And just feel that stretch in the feet as well. A lot of the movements we do today will feel good for the joints, but you'll feel your energy moving through your entire system. One more. All right. Let's start with the right side. Once again, just be on your toes, and I'm going to show you with my hand. In a minute when we start moving, you're going to be on the toes, then kind of the inside of the foot, the heel. You'll still be on your toes, but you'll be more on the heel, the outside of the foot, and you'll have this motion like this with your foot. Now the way you also work with that is moving the knee in a circle. So just circle the knee inward, toes, inside foot, heel, outside foot. So that's the motion. Now you've got the foot and the ankles moving, of course, you've got the knee. Now get the hips going. So move the hips with it. Don't be shy. Move the hips. And if moving the hips doesn't work in your brain, think about your tailbone. Think about how you're just circling or making a circle with that tailbone is how you can look at it. And just relax into it and let yourself move there. That other knee can be slightly bent, and you'll feel you're moving the joints in the toes, the ankle, the knee, the hips, and the tailbone. And just breathe naturally. All right, stop and let's go the other way. Same mechanics. Now it's going to feel a little different maybe because you're going in the other direction. And just move everything in this nice spiraling circular motion. A moving hinge does not rust, so we want to keep these joints moving, spiraling energy into them. And even though we're focusing on this today, there are many Qigong movements where that just naturally happens. So you might want to check out some other Qigong routines. All right, so stop. If you want to shake it out there, you can a little bit. Let's go other side. Once again, you're on that toe. We're going to move inward first. So you go to inside the foot, heel, outside the foot. You're also circling that knee. If you have to think of it in sections, now you're circling the hips, or think about the tailbone is circling. And breathe. And relax into it. And it doesn't need to be a huge circle. If mine looks a little bigger, I want to make sure you really see what I'm doing. So you can make all of your movements a little bit smaller, just as long as it's spiraling. Okay, so stop and go the other direction. Once again, inside the foot, toe, outside heel. And when you change directions, it will feel a little different. You might even feel that you're moving slightly differently, but all right, and bring it to a stop. If you want to shake that out a little bit. All right, we're going to continue with the waist down. So hinge at the waist and just have your hands lightly on your knees. You might have a slightly wider than shoulder width stance, but be comfortable. Feet nicely planted. And now, as you bend the knees and circle them in, then as you come back, they straighten. So you might think, oh, this is just for the knees, but if you notice, you're kind of naturally going heel, outside of foot, toes, inside of foot. So you're still getting that movement in the feet and the ankles. Nice, gentle movement. The hips aren't necessarily spiraling now or moving in a circle, but you feel the hips, now they're moving with that sitting down, standing up sort of movement, and your hips, of course, move in that fashion too. So breathe naturally. Now, if you've got a knee project right now, you just need to really think about how you're doing this one. You might just move ever so slightly, but still try to get some movement. Stop, and now go the other way. Everything's the same with the mechanics. We've just reversed the direction. Breathe. Do a couple more. And you can stop. All right. Just take a nice deep breath and notice how you feel from the waist down. Breathe in and out. All right, now we want to work waist up, which is going to be hands, wrists, elbows, shoulders. So lace your fingers, and your elbows aren't going to be touching, but they're going to be kind of close together. As you then begin to make this figure 8 motion, like a figure 8 lying down, or you could call it the infinity symbol. And you just dip down with those knuckles towards the floor and then up, and really get some good movement. Now you're also feeling this in the hips, if you notice. And of course, the wrists and elbows and shoulders. And that also moves back into the shoulder blades. Relax the neck, relax that rib cage, and just move, spiraling that energy. All right, go ahead and stop, bring the elbows out a bit, and now what we want to do is we want to circle with those elbows. Circle with the elbows. Just act as if you're trying to make that elbow point up to the sky. And let the hip follow the elbow. So on the right hand side, the right elbow goes up and that right hip comes forward. Same thing on the left side. And you're moving from your center now. You get a little sink and rise in the knees. You're not going to be there with stiff legs. Relax the neck. Just let that elbow come by the ear. And now you're feeling this a little more in the shoulders. Now reverse. Same mechanics, but in reverse. And once again, whenever we change directions or change sides, sometimes it feels a little different. So just pull that elbow and that hip back as you turn turn still from your center. And with this one, you're going to feel it a little more in the neck actually. So you might notice that. And go ahead and end it there. And just hands by your sides. Take a deep breath. All right, let's continue to work on the shoulders. We'll start with the right one. So have your stance about shoulder width and let that right arm come straight up. Now, once again, if you have a shoulder project, you might find a way to modify this for yourself. You might just bring it down and do a smaller movement. Or if you feel like you need to skip this one but do all the other ones, that's fine too. So just listen to your body. If you don't have a shoulder project, do this to make sure you maybe don't get in that situation, hopefully. All right, so you're going to drop the shoulder and move that hip out of the way. So at the same time, you move that hip out of the way, drop the shoulder, and let that dropping motion just swing it around. You don't need to feel like you're driving it with the shoulder. Just drop the hand, drop the arm, and let it swing back around. You can exhale through the mouth, and then inhale when you're up. You can bend the knees and straighten. Once again, you don't need to stand there with really stiff legs. We'll just do a couple more of these. Last one. All right, other side. Up with that left arm. Have your stance there. Shoulder width. Move that left hip out of the way and drop. Now, of course, if something happened where you got an injury, in your shoulder, then that was an accident and you couldn't help that. But some of us maybe have not been moving our shoulders as much. I wasn't until I started doing Qigong, and I noticed that, I needed to work on that to make sure I didn't get in a situation where I might have frozen shoulder, things like that. But if you've got an injury, of course, take care of that. Take care of yourself. One more, and down. All right. Awesome. So kind of notice how you feel at this point. Just take some inventory, because when you start spiraling that energy through your joints, it doesn't just help the joints. It goes through the entire body. I almost was speechless because it amazes me how it does work. And in Qigong, they call it silk reeling. So it's a feeling of that we're just reeling silk through those joints to then get them to move silky smooth. So it's really a great practice for this. All right, the next thing we want to do is we want to work on the spine. So we're just going to do our good old knocking on the door of life. So slightly bend the knees, turn from the hips and the waist. But today, since we're really focusing on the joints, I'm not necessarily trying to activate energy for us to do a full routine. Then we're going to go really slow, and I want you to look over the shoulder. And if you have to slow it down even more than the pace I'm going, that's fine. And I just really want you to focus on that rotation of the spine all the way up to the base of the skull, and breathe. Breathe in and out. And just feel this wonderful movement from the tailbone all the way to the base of the skull. Moving the joints in the spine. And of course, this is working again on the hips. We're going to be getting a little activation as we knock across our lower back and lower abdomen, activating some energy around our center. And then just slow it down, slow it down. I want you to take it into something called water waves. We're still moving from our center. And if you like imagery, just feel as if you are standing in a warm pool of water. That's going to help all those joints feel good from the waist down. And then we're moving our hands through that warm water. That feels good to our fingers. And although we're not really doing this, imagination is very powerful. Set up that imagery in your mind, that intention, and breathe into this beautiful imagery. Water waves. And just unwind, unwind as you bring it to center. Breathe in and out. And now let's do some bouncing. Sometimes it's called shaking. And I like to do this movement in a lot of my full routines, especially after we've done some stretching and activation and before we go into flows. And I don't talk about it much in this fashion, but this movement is really good for your joints. So it's also good for circulating the energy. So let's just go ahead and bounce into those heels, pump the arms, and as you see, you are moving these joints. We might not be spiraling the joints or spiraling the energy, but we're moving our joints nicely, and in this bouncing fashion, it's really helping energy to circulate. So take a nice deep breath in from the belly up. And just breathe out through the mouth. Breathe in through the nose. Breathe out. You can almost make a sighing type noise. Breathe in. And just sigh. And slow it down, slow it down. And just take a nice deep breath and feel that energy all through the body, your bioelectricity. All right, let's do a flow. The fountain. This is a good flow for the joints and the bones. Slightly hinge at the waist and let those hips glide back just a bit. Bend the knees, hands back to back. Float those hands up to the collarbone, bringing those hips forward. And then out, down, and around. As you float the hands down, glide the hips back again, bend the knees, spiral those hands back to back and up. Inhale, exhale. Now the movement of the hips gliding back and then forward creates this wave-like motion in the spine. Breathe in and out. Breathe in Sometimes when I show people this movement, I feel that they think it's just for the arms. I have to really help folks understand how they want to bend those knees, bring those hips forward, wave it up, and now your entire body participates in this movement. Inhale, exhale. Let's do one more. Breathe in and out. And now just round your hands like you're holding a ball right there at your belly. And we're going to do a movement called Dragon Moves the Pearl. Just act as if you are holding a ball, a pearl, a big pearl, and float up to about the hairline, and then round it forward a little bit and come back down. Then move back in towards the body. Inhale. Exhale. Now, set the intention that you're moving that breath and that energy up the back of the spine, over the crown, and down the front of the body, under the pelvic floor, back around, up, over the crown, down the front. This is where you can let the thoughts of your mind work for the good. The mind is very powerful. Let's use it to help us feel good and not bad. Stay with the breath. This is almost a meditative type movement up the spine, around the crown, over the crown, down, front of the body, under the pelvic floor. Let's do a couple more. Inhale, up. Exhale, bring it back down. And now bring your feet closer together and lock the webbing of your hands there. Place your hands on your lower abdomen and relax all your joints. Relax your joints from the toes all the way up. And let's do some more imagery. You can even close your eyes. You don't need to see me. Close your eyes and just feel a spiraling tiny orb of light around the toes, the joints of the toes. Let that little orb of light spiral around the ankles, spiraling energy into the ankles. Soften those ankles, soften the knees, let that light spiral around the knees. Let the energy spiral around the hips and the tailbone. Let that little orb of light now spiral all the way up the spine. Spiral, spiral, up the spine to the base of the skull. Then let it move to the shoulders. Spiral that light around your shoulders. Let that little orb of light spiral around your elbows. Now now your wrists. And now your fingers. Let it just spiral in and out of between your fingers, your knuckles, all around your knuckles. Take a nice deep breath in and out. Hands by your sides. And take that wonderful energy with you the rest of the day. Happy joints. See you next time. Bye-bye.